The 49ers have it all on the line in the next several games, starting with a Sunday night football game, a massive game, a snowy game, under the lights against the Buffalo Bills. In this video, we're going to talk about some good news that will make 49ers fans feel a little bit better heading into this massive snow-blown Sunday night football game. If you're new here, I'm Nate. I make daily 49ers content. Please subscribe if that's what you're looking for. But here's the big deal. Dalton Kincaid was just downgraded to out a couple hours ago. And while this may be bad for some of our fantasy teams, mine included, I'll take it because I think it's good news for the 49ers. They've been dealing with an injury for a little while now, but the real questions are, is this really a difference maker? And if it is a difference maker, how is it a difference maker? Is it enough of a difference maker? Can the 49ers overcome injuries to actually get something out of this game? Is this a determining factor in that? We're going to get to all of those questions today in the video, starting with how big of a difference maker is this for the 49ers to have tight end Dalton Kincaid out against the 49ers? Here's the first bit. Okay, so let's take a look at the targets, okay? Dalton Kincaid has the second highest number of targets. He's almost tied over the number of games. I mean, over 10 games. Like, this is basically tied, okay? And the Buffalo Bills are going to be coming out healthy, having this nice bye week and all that good stuff. But you know what? The bye week's not going to be as crucial, I think, in a snowy, blundery game, because I think it's going to be just that much harder for anything to work exactly like you want it to, and you will rely on guys like Dalton. You would like to anyway, to rely on guys like Dalton going into this big game, crazy weather, all that good stuff. He's the second highest targeted receiver. Basically, he's tied for the most targets this season. Now, granted, he's only turned that into 34 receptions. I'm sure there are plenty of good reasons for that. And I think as far as the 49ers are concerned, this is good. Maybe not great news. I'd say good news, though. This is a better situation. You ever want to, take advantage, or not take advantage. Of course you want to take advantage. You never want to, play on other people's injuries. You never want to ask for other teams to be injured. You never want to celebrate other teams' injuries necessarily, but you will take advantage of the opportunity that's given to you. Now, if we look at some other stats around Dalton Kincaid and you look at the number of touchdowns, this is where it doesn't really make a massive difference. He's only had two touchdowns this season, and it's on a team where a lot of different guys are getting touchdowns. Nobody with more than 3 touchdowns on the season so far. You have him third in yards, though, so that's something there. You also have him fourth in bigs. So he's had 4 bigs. So I think in terms of how this plays out for the 49ers, it's good news, maybe not great news, but it's good news. And you'll take every little bit of that, especially, again, with the weather being a major factor in this game. You're going to want guys who are your go-to guys. You're going to want him out, not on the field. There is an advantage there. Now, a fair question would be, will the 49ers be healthy enough to take advantage? As you know, the 49ers have all sorts of injuries. And, I forgot to talk about the key games. I'll just say this real quick about how big of a deal those targets have been. Dalton has had a handful of good games, but he has not had any games this season so far where he really was the sole reason that the Buffalo Bills were successful. So again, good news, not great news, good news. We'll take good news because we need every little bit we can get going into this crazy game. So will the 49ers be healthy enough to take advantage? That's going to be a fair question as Brock Purdy comes in real blurry on this for some reason. That's going to be a really important piece of this puzzle. Is Brock Purdy going to be eligible? We'll know just in a few hours. I got another video I'll be doing tonight after we know more about injury news, and so you can stay tuned for that. But we have injury updates coming. That's going to be critical. Guys like this. Will Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, and Brock Purdy be available for the game? You've got other guys out there, by the way. George Kittle, who's basically been fighting through injuries all season long. And then you got Fred Warner, we just found out this week, has been playing since the New England Patriots with a jacked up ankle. And it's actually fractured. And this is, not a complete surprise because all of us wondered. We talked about it many times. He's not been himself since the ankle injury. However, I don't think any of us realized how much pain he's been playing through. And all of a sudden you look at his production and you say, you know what? I'll take it Fred, you're an incredible athlete. You're an absolute warrior. George Kittle, you're an absolute warrior. You guys are going out there every single week completely banged up and finding ways to be as productive as possible. Of course, last week being Fred Warner's worst game statistically with his 4 missed tackles. So hopefully the 49ers can turn some things around. Hopefully there's some new opportunities here. It's going to be harder on offense and on defense in the snowy weather, but defense tends to win in really bad inclement weather. And then you have the running game, which I'm really hoping this is an opportunity. As I said earlier this season, or earlier this week, I'm really hoping that this weather means that you're going to have a lot more runs. And if you have a lot more runs, that means guys like Christian McCaffrey are not going to be your bell cow up to 35 runs. He's going to be, around 20, maybe 25. And that means that other guys like Jordan Mason, Isaac Grino, we've been calling for. Many of you commenting. I had like 80 comments in the last video talking about that specifically, about these guys, JP Mason and Isaac Grino, going out there and getting more runs, getting more opportunities. So yeah, I think this is a good opportunity weather-wise for the 49ers to go out there and, have a shot. We're just 2 days away, all right? And if the 49ers want to win this game against the Buffalo Bills, at Buffalo Bills, in the weather, all that stuff, the bottom line is, guys, the 49ers have to go out there and have to do what they have not done this season. And I'm not going to say the same. I mean, I will say it. You get all 3 phases, all 4 quarters. But what I think is the team has to go out there and play clean football. Clean football. That's what we need to see. Drop all the penalties. And this 49ers team wins multiple games. This 49ers that they didn't win. This 49ers team is more competitive and closer in games if you could just drop the penalties. Not just the penalties, but the timing of the penalties. The 49ers seem to be making penalties, drawing penalties, whatever you want to call it, at the worst possible times on big plays and big moments, especially Deebo Samuel and his biggest opportunities in the last several weeks to actually make some meaningful ground on this football team and turn the game around, and they get called back for holding calls. So I think all in all, this is a better situation for the 49ers than if Kincaid were healthy. But the 49ers are still going to go out there and figure out. I'm sure the Bills were working this week with a now rested and ready to go bedded in Amari Cooper, who's only had 10 receptions on the season. So I'm assuming he's going to get a little more play this season. You, of course, have Khalil Shakir and Coleman. You got guys out there who are going to be tough players. And if you ask me, I think it comes down to the 49ers minding their P's and Q's, doing their job, not making dumb mistakes at the wrong times, and just playing solid football. Is that a lot to ask? Maybe. That actually might be a ton to ask. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think Dalton Kincaid being out is a big deal or a small deal, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, regardless of how big of a deal it is, I'll take every little bit of good news we can get right now because we need every little bit we can possibly handle, especially considering we're probably not going to have many of our starting massive, incredible football players, important QB1, DE1, LT1, however you want to spell that out or write that down. This is a situation that the 49ers are going to need to be completely on it to get anything meaningful out of this game. Even if the 49ers don't win, what I would like to see is the 49ers play good football. Play consistent football. Play football where they're paying attention to the little details and they're doing a good job on those things. If they do that, especially with the weather, who knows? Anything could happen. We've seen crazier things happen even just this weekend in football. So, yeah, opportunities are there if you leave yourself opportunities to be had.